The voice of sharing, dünya ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Good morning, this is Arlene and you're listening to our ASEAN Daily. Today's breaking news. Boat sinks off Malaysia, killing 13 Indonesian migrants. Police are searching for survivors after a boat capsized off the coast of Malaysia, killing at least 13 people. The situation is definitely not doing well as police are searching for survivors after the boat capsized at the coast of Malaysia. Police said that bodies of 9 women and 4 men were found washed up on the beach in Johor State early a couple of days ago. Those on board were thought to be illegal immigrants and working from Indonesia. And thousands of Indonesia work illegally in plantations and other industries in this country. It often risks dangerous sea journeys to bypass border controls when they enter Malaysia or return home. District Police Chief Rahman Othman said he believed up to 35 people could have been on board the boat, and a search and rescue operation was underway. Accidents off Malaysia's coast are relatively common as illegal migrants try to find work in the relatively affluent country of Malaysia. According to an Indonesian foreign minister spokesman, that ID cards from Indonesia were found on bodies of the 13 victims. It is in Malaysia, it is a key transit hub for asylum seekers fleeing unrest in their own countries, such as the ones from Myanmar, like the Rohingya. And with the authorities now working on trying to launch the search for the boat carrying up to 35 people, where 13 was up ashore. A lot of things are going on right now, and this is not the first time. Just a couple of months ago in September, at least 15 people drowned after a boat carrying about 70 migrants capsized off the western coast of Malaysia. And on the same topic regarding on illegal migrants, also the topic that is high on the list of ASEAN's human rights concern. This is regarding on human trafficking. And great news from ASEAN as well, because Cambodia and Singapore has ratified ASEAN Convention Against Trafficking in person. Cambodia and Singapore have deposited their respective instruments of ratification for the ASEAN Convention Against Trafficking in person, or short for ACTIP, with ASEAN Secretary General Lee Luang Min. Well, when will Malaysia ratify it? We will wait and see. With a lot of crises that Malaysia and the rest of Southeast Asia are facing right now regarding on refugee crisis and influx of illegal immigrants, human trafficking is also high on the list. And Cambodia and Singapore gladly send their respective instruments of ratification to the ASEAN SecGen. ACTIP, which was signed by the ASEAN leaders at the 27th ASEAN Summit in November 2015, showcases the bloc's commitment in addressing human trafficking as a regional problem and its resolve to find the most effective regional solution to combat it. Also, ACTIP is the first regionally binding instrument on trafficking in persons, aims to prevent and combat trafficking in persons, especially women and children, and ensure just and effective punishment of traffickers. protect and assist victims of trafficking in person with full respect for their human rights, and promote cooperation in the fight against trafficking in person among the ASEAN member states. ASEAN groups together with 10 member states, where Singapore, one of the country, has underscored its strong commitment to cooperate with their regional partners to join tackle trafficking in persons by being one of the first ASEAN member states to ratify the ACTIP. This is according to Singapore Ambassador to ASEAN, Tang Hong Seng, on depositing the country's instrument of ratification to the ASEAN Secretary General. In fact, trafficking in person is a transnational issue that requires a global effort by all countries at that time, whether the source, transit, or destination, to break the vicious cycle of human trafficking. Whilst Singapore also works closely with international partners such as Interpol, UNODC, and Group of Friends Against Trafficking in Persons to tackle the issue at the global level. For the part of the ASEAN SecGen, Min said that the implementation of ACTIP would serve as the legal basis for ASEAN member states when facing security challenges related to human trafficking. Min also looked forward to the early ratification of ACTIP by other ASEAN member states so that the convention can enter into force and be implemented as soon as possible. It will take effect in 30 days after the 6th ASEAN member state deposits the instruments of ratification. Moving on to another news in Southeast Asia. This time we move to Cambodia. As we all know, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry came to Cambodia, and a lot of issues were being discussed. But with Cambodian economy heavily dependent on China, the one-day visit by the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry had been focused to improve a relationship with Cambodia as its important economic partner. And also US is seeking to draw China away from Cambodia. How is it going to do so? Let's just see. But if US want to get Cambodia to ally with them, it may need more than just a visit, definitely. It needs to heavily lobbying Cambodia through various events such as the ASEAN Summit and provide greater economic development and economic opportunities to the country. And with Kerry, for his part, tweeted on arrival when he arrived Cambodia, many important regional and security and economic issues to discuss. Although US is already Cambodia's biggest trade partner, Prime Minister Hun Sen called on Kerry to increase the volume during their meeting behind closed door at the Peace Palace. As of November 2015, bilateral trade amounted to $3.17 billion, of which $2.8 billion was in garment and textile exports to the US. Cambodian imports from the US were just about $363 million. Lang Sofalit, a personal assistant to Hun Sen, the person told the reporters that Prime Ministers and Kerry both agree on the importance of good bilateral relations for development. Officials from both countries said Kerry wanted to visit ahead of the US-ASEAN Summit next month in Sunnyland, California. Such a great place and a great name. And also to meet with Hor Nam Hong, the foreign minister. At the summit, the US is expected, among things, to lobby ASEAN member nations to take a tougher line on territorial disputes with China in the South China Sea. With the opposition leader Sam Rainsy remaining outside of the country to avoid prosecution, the U.S. Secretary of State met with Kem Sokha, the deputy opposition leader and civil society leader to personally test the country's political temperature. Democratic governments have a responsibility to ensure that all elected representatives are free to perform their responsibilities without fear of attack or arrest. In fact, the U.S. Department signals in the running up to the visit were heavily on security issues, noting that the country is definitely concerned that the Chinese economy and political ascendance in Laos and Cambodia would change the dynamic of the territorial disputes in the South China Sea, the land reclamations there by China, and threat posed by Islamic State in the region and North Korean nuclear belligerents. Anyway, we will take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss the economic and societal side of Southeast Asia.